watching the Sons of UCF live. The Sons is the way.
Hello, Night Nation. I'm Trace Trelko. Welcome to the Sons of UCF Live. Before we close out 2021, to paraphrase the song, an old acquaintance we could never forget, let's welcome in one half of the Sons of UCF. Adam, hello.
Trace, how are you? Welcome to the last show of 2021. Quick rumor update, UCF Mike not in the transfer portal tonight. We are checking on that. There's some smoke. Mike's got the night off, though, so I hope Mike's doing well, but cannot yet confirm if he's in the transfer portal.
Is he on some sort of bender in Tampa still, or what's going on there?
He could be wandering the streets of Del Mabry right now. It's anybody's guess at this point, frankly.
I enjoyed him on the podcast earlier this week, sticking it to his cousin, making him buy, what was it, Big Macs or Whoppers or something like that?
And a hotel room, which is odd because the bet was a hotel room, but then he somehow also snuck some Big Macs out of the deal. So I'm not really sure what happened there.
You guys had a good breakdown of the big bowl game win. Let's hit you with a couple of news items off the top. Boy, that transfer portal, you mentioned UCF Mike not being in that, but tight end Charlie Browder enters. No stats during his true freshman year with UCF in 2021. Perhaps, though, this paves the way for Joey Gatewood to being converted to a tight end. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think at some point we're going to have to address Joey's future with the team and what position he plays best. I mean, I think we've all seen throwing the football, not necessarily his strength. The running game, I think Parker Navarro outran him in that package. So maybe this is a depth play. This is unfortunate. Charlie Browder's a 6'7" kid, a freshman. He got a couple of red zone targets this year, no catches. You would have liked to have seen us hold on to him for a year, develop him some more. But in today's day and age, if you don't get the minutes, you don't get the time on the field, you can go elsewhere. So Charlie moves on. Obviously, tight end is a position where we have some depth issues. I know we're bringing in Grant Stevens. We have Alec Holler. We have Jordan Davis, Gabe Davis's brother. But I will love to hang on to Charlie and see if we can develop him. But, yeah, these kids make decisions that are best for them, and we wish them well.
And, of course, the statement is that he spoke to his family over the holidays and made this decision. It seemed like, though, a position group where he might have had an opportunity to win a job.
Yeah, I mean, again, with that height, I mean, you saw Gus try a few times this year to high point, a back, corner end zone fade to him. It just didn't, materialize. I think he had it against Memphis and fell to the ground and got knocked out. So you would have thought that would have been a nice red zone target, particularly for a young quarterback like Mikey Keene. So you would have thought maybe he could have stuck around, but again, these kids make decisions. His message, he went home to the holidays, talked to his family, maybe he got homesick. Happens to all of us, right? So again, you would have loved to see him stick around. It's unfortunate, I don't know that your first year you should expect to play every snap at every down, but obviously if Charlie has an option to go someplace else, maybe close to home, you tip your cap and thank you for his service.
The transfer portal so far, like more than 1,000 kids are in it. Did you see the stat? 27% have landed with new teams. So, it is a bit of a risk for these kids. You mentioned Coach Malzahn. Other news today is that he is one of 3 finalists for the Steve Spurrier First-Year Coach Award. I would guess UCF Mike, wherever he is, if he might be tuning in or sees us on the replay, he would approve of us discussing a final 3 that also includes Shane Beamer and familiar name, Tennessee's Josh Heupel, who has won this award before at UCF in 2018. I actually think you have to commend Heupel on the job that he did at Tennessee in 2021.
Yeah, I don't think it's a hot take to say Heupel is probably maybe the favorite for this award. If the voters, whoever those esteemed voters might be for the Steve Spurrier First Year of Coach of the Year award, look into the details and see, obviously, the injuries that UCF had and the adversity they went through. Maybe Gus gets a couple of looks there. But, I mean, Heupel did take a Tennessee team that we all assume would be just a hot dumpster fire and made them serviceable. They're playing in a bowl game, I think, tomorrow. So, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if Heupel won it, but do some research. Maybe Gus gets a couple of votes. And Shane Beamer, South Carolina did a good job. So it's a vaunted finalist group for the Steve Spurrier First Year Coach Award. How did this get named after Steve Spurrier, by the way? Do we know?
I didn't read that in the press release. And in skimming the UCF press release, they left out Beamer and Heupel as finalists for the awards. Yeah. I don't know what about that. But now Coach Malzahn gets his 9th win, 9-4, 29-17 over Florida. If you don't mind, Adam, would you skip right to that Ryan O'Keefe soundbite that just sums up everything?
Yeah, we the best team in Florida, 100%. Like, we always thought that, but now we finally got to prove it.
4 seconds, very sweet, for the Gasparilla Bowl MVP who put on a performance and a show that we will never forget.
Yeah, here's the thing. Like, we talked about this in the show this week, right? There's one thing to win a game, right? And you could have won a game on a lucky tip, a bad pick six, something happens. We dominated that game in the second half. We won the line of scrimmage. We were the more physical team. When the time came, Trace, would you have ever thought I would tell you that we possessed the ball for 12 minutes of the fourth quarter? You would have never, if I had told you that last year, you would have driven up to my house and had me committed to a hospital, because there's
12 minutes in the entire game.
Yes. There's no way that's possible. We were the more physical team. We were the more dominant team, and we actually physically beat up the Gators. And I think that's what makes this more sweet, is you can say, oh, fluke play, last second field goal. We were absolutely the best field in this team for at least 3 quarters. So the first quarter, probably a little questionable. But I think it was a domination really from second quarter on, and that's what makes this victory even more sweet.
You messaged me during the game and you said, well, what do you think about the play of the offensive line? And early on, not so sure, but offensive line, defensive line asserted themselves as the game went along.
What, the old adage, you win the trenches, right? You win the game. And Coach Herb Hand, I don't know if he's available to come on the show to break down film for us, Trace, but the clips he's
doing a good job on his Twitter handle, though, right?
The clips he posted on social media of the blocking schemes and sort of the way that those holes opened up. I mean, the precision with which the guys were executing. And maybe that's just something that we don't recognize when we're watching the game because we're just not looking for it. But, I mean, now you know why we were able to gain those 4, 5, 6, 7 yards. And I think the combination of the O-line being physical and Isaiah Bowser, who just has the ability to get hit and fall forward for 3 yards, those two together made a perfect game plan for that second half. And you got to tip your cap. I did question early on the O-line's play, but you got to tip your cap to the second half, and they were the more dominant unit by far.
We get some hypothetical what-if questions in our son's mailbag later on. You know, what if Dylan Gabriel hadn't gotten hurt? Let me ask this question, though. What if Isaiah Bowser is relatively healthy and doesn't miss as many games or pieces of games that he did? The Army, you think that's the win. Not Army, Navy, a win there. Do they get over the hump in the other 3 losses? Louisville, SMU, and Cincinnati.
Cincinnati feels like a tough one. I mean, I think that's a team that was just the better team this year. SMU, maybe. I think that game, we were in it early on. We had an early turnover, if I remember correctly. We had an early touchdown. We were in that one early on, so maybe we make a few plays with Bowser. I think Navy, to your point, we probably win that one. Louisville, I mean, we were right there. We could have won that game anyway, but it doesn't take it. I don't think it takes a football savant to tell you the offense is way different with Bowser in it versus not having Bowser. Mikey Keene has more options. I think the flow is better. I think you see a better game plan. So that's a kid. Bowser, he was pretty coy about his future. When asked at the post-game presser, he said, we'll see. We saw a highlight video posted today with a running man emoji. Don't know what that means, but I think he's a guy. If he comes back next year, I would love to see what kind of damage we can do, particularly if he can stay healthy, because I do think that offense was vastly different with him in the lineup.
Well, we know that kids have family members and agents and such in their ear. Did he show you enough in 2021? Has he gotten past that reputation of being injury prone? He certainly had a good showcase in the bowl game. We know what he can do when he's healthy. Does he get picked in the NFL draft, or does he need a healthy year? But he doesn't know really if he has that healthy year in 2022 with UCF, because he hasn't had that in the past.
Yeah, I mean, did he show you enough that he can be healthy? Unfortunately, he didn't, right? Because he got dinged up not once but twice that he had to essentially leave the lineup, I think, with 2 different injuries. So, unfortunately, he did not show that. Running back's such a tough spot, Trace. You only have so many hits on that body, right? And the more you get in college, the more hits you absorb. You get to the NFL, maybe you don't have that opportunity. So, I think he would another year could help him prove to the scouts what he can do, get some more tape out there. He was never the feature back at Northwestern. He was obviously spent some time here, so maybe a full year of the featured back role, maybe that helps him. But obviously he's gonna do the right thing for him. And as a running back, you can only take so many hits on that body.
If he decides to go into the NFL draft, where do you think he gets drafted? Do you think he gets drafted?
No, probably undrafted free agent would be my guess.
Is that worth it then?
Depends on what your dream is, right? I mean, if this is what you've dreamt for, you've worked hard for, and you're on the doorstep of it, even if you don't get it maybe the way you want, but you still have a chance to chase that dream. I mean, to some people, that might be worth it. So he's also an older guy, right? This will be his 5th or 6th year in college. So maybe he's just ready to move on with his life and start his career. And if the NFL doesn't work out, obviously you have CFL, you have other leagues pop up. So the football dream could live on for him. Again, selfishly, I'd love to see him stay at UCF because I think he can do some more stuff there. But, I wouldn't fault him if he decides to move forward.
Well, Coach Malzahn likes to say UCF is the future of college football. Whether Isaiah Bowser is back or not, the Knights inked on early signing day a future running back standout in running back Jordan McDonald, 6'1", 220 pounds, out of Alpharetta, Georgia, and Milton High. And he hops on with us at the Sons of UCF Live. Jordan, welcome into the show.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Let me begin with this. That suit you wore for your signing day, Knight Nation must have just loved seeing that logo inside. How'd that come to be?
So it was actually my dad's idea because I told him I wanted to wear a UCF suit, but we didn't really know how to make all of that work. So he ordered UCF flags, and he just told me to hand him my suit jacket and was just like, "I'll create something for you, and it's gonna be amazing. Just trust me." So I just put my faith in him, and he came through.
He most certainly did come through, and I imagine there are some fans that wouldn't mind getting a hold of something like that. In your intro video that UCF played on social media on signing day, you said, "I like to describe my game as like the ocean, calm, fluid, and sometimes even violent." That was my favorite video when I heard your quote. Talk a little bit more about your game.
I would say about my game, I love being able to stay calm during the game because I think that just helps the game just slow down, in my opinion, and just helps me have a full grasp on everything that's going on and being able to read the defensive coverage and being able to follow my lineman blocks, and it just opens up my vision a whole lot more because whenever there's a million thoughts going through my head, it just makes everything a whole lot more stressful, and you can feel the game wearing on you. And if you're able to just take a deep breath, slow down, calm down, and just play the game like you've been born to play it, it just makes everything spectacular for you.
Jordan, talk about the recruiting process for a second. Is it fun? Is it stressful? I know you got a lot of decisions to make, a lot of people calling you. What was that process like for you just overall?
I would say the process was very stressful. I remember at first it was fun, and then I want to say maybe like a week after the real time to where coaches were able to contact us personally, it became kind of stressful and kind of wearing out because I remember being in my room just like trying to go to sleep at like 11 p.m. and getting a call or a text message and stuff like that, and I'd be like, "Oh, man, I can't keep doing this." But then it would also sometimes be coming at like the weirdest times. Like I would be out with having dinner with family and things of that nature, and just getting called in, you just be like, "Oh, I need to take this call, but I'm also having a good family time." So like once you're able to get the full grasp on it, it gets easier and like the load gets less and less. Like I would say my senior year, I was able to handle it really well and being able to navigate through recruiting and my own personal life. But I would say at the beginning, it was extremely stressful.
So what made UCF the right fit for you after all that stressor, after all those decisions? What made Orlando your home?
The thing that made Orlando my home is Coach Malzahn and Coach Harris. They are just incredible, outstanding people. And they're people I could definitely see projecting me into the NFL and just as a better man and as a whole. Like, I loved every moment of my conversations with Coach Malzahn and his wife. And then Coach Harris, too, he's my man. Like, that man, he's an amazing person. I can definitely see whatever greatness they have rubbing off on me, that would just project me to a different standing in my life in general. So that is one main thing that really helped me decide on UCF.
What was your perception of UCF, going into your senior year? What did you know about him? What was the reputation, especially for a guy in Georgia?
UCF, for me, I would say it was more so of like that sleeper team that people count out because they're not quote unquote Power 5, but definitely can come in and do a lot of damage to a lot of Power 5 teams. And going into my senior year, it was kind of iffy looking at UCF because the whole head coaching switching and everything stuff going on. And when Gus Malzahn got announced as the full-out coach, then that really put UCF more on my target list because a nice old-fashioned SEC coach and just a outstanding coach in general who's beat Nick Saban 3 times going to a UCF team that's dangerous and that is known to be able to just shake a lot of things for Power 5 schools, even though they aren't counted out as Power 5, is just something that really shifted my view. And I trusted and wanted to sit back to watch to see what Gus would do, and he blown out every expectations everyone over here in Georgia had for him.
That's a pretty good bullet point there. That's your own research, or does UCF kind of, feed you some of that intel?
Oh, that was all my own research.
Who else came after you pretty hard? Who else did you consider?
Tennessee came after me pretty hard. I had a very good connection with the coaching staff over there over the summer. And with Josh Heupel and them moving from UCF to Tennessee, because when I had connection with them at UCF, when they moved to Tennessee and kind of picked up where it left off, it left me in a really good place with them. And then South Carolina also had an amazing standing with me, as well as Michigan State and Indiana with the conversations I had with those coaches.
Jordan, as good of a running back as you are, we're going to get to that in a second. I saw this story post. I'm going to put it up on the screen for you. I'd love if you could to maybe share the backstory for us. This was posted on social media about something at your school and how you took an opportunity to maybe stand up for a classmate. Can you tell us more about this story and what happened and what you did?
So it all started when I actually went to a basketball game, and my girlfriend's a trainer, and I stayed after the game to help her clean up some of the water bottles and things of that nature so we could go out and get something to eat. And a couple of the administrators told me that there was a new transfer student who was having some problems shifting into being into Milton in his freshman year. And I was concerned by the fact of what would have problems, because I loved my entire time in Milton. I didn't want anyone to be able to have a bad time at our high school. And the administrators had told me that there were a lot of kids that were picking on him and bullying him because of his height and because of a lot of things that they just were just being mean about. And that just really didn't sit right with me, because a lot of times, like growing up, like especially nowadays with people's mental health and things of that nature, it's really not a place that someone wants to be in. And it just stood out to me more so of we all need to like take charge and do something about it. And the administrators brought the idea to me and a couple other football players of walking into class and just being able to build more of a connection with him, to show him that there's people that are there for him. And so I really loved the idea, and we all took charge. You can see Mo in the picture with me. We all took charge to make sure that he had the best couple of days of his life, couple of weeks of his life, that of just being able to come back and forth with all of us and be able to chat with all of us. And we still keep in contact with him now. And I said that definitely a lot of times when I come back and visit from UCF, I'll be going up there and check on him. And we all made like a little hangout spot too in the principal's office with like a PlayStation and everything in it, just like as a little hangout, be cool out spot so we can all be like normal and friends and things of that nature. And this say like things we're able to do a complete 180 of people. Really, they all just realized their actions, and they realized what they were saying and things they were doing was very harmful and shouldn't be said to someone. And he now starting to get more and more social and active, especially with people of the football team. And he's going to come out to a lot more football games next year and things of that nature. And it's just able to build that connection for him to have, just not just with us, but just branching out into Milton, having people that he can go to and having people that he can hang out with and things of that nature, so he doesn't feel alone.
That's all. Thanks for sharing that story with us. We got to find a way to get him to a game at UCF next year, so maybe we can work on that as a fan base. All right, Jordan. So let's get to know you a little bit off the field. We know you're a dominant player on the field, so I have some questions for you, more some personal questions to kind of get to know you. Are you ready for all these questions?
Yes, sir.
What is your favorite movie?
My favorite movie. Ooh. It's between two. It's between the Jaden Smith Karate Kid and Step Up 3D. Dance movie.
Okay. Have you seen the original Karate Kid, or you just prefer the Jaden Smith version?
Yeah. No, I love the original Karate Kid. Daniel LaRusso is an amazing actor. Well, no, that's not the actor's name, but like he was an amazing character in the movie. But Jaden Smith, it just like something about it just spoke more.
What's your best subject in school?
growing up, I would say math, but for some reason, I've always been bad at science. But as soon as I got into high school and shifted, I was amazing at science.
Any idea what your major might be at UCF?
My major, I'm still on the rocks, but it's most likely going to be sports journalism or business.
If you didn't play football, what sport would you want to play?
If I didn't play football, definitely 1,000% basketball.
Did you play basketball at Milton as well?
No, sir. I was actually asked to, but just juggling everything I already had, especially with recruitment and football, and seeing that how much better at football I was than basketball, I was just like, no. But growing up, I did play basketball, and then shifting into high school, I decided to just focus mainly on football.
All right. What toppings do you put on your pizza?
This may sound bad, but I am a plain cheese person.
Okay. Nothing wrong with that. How many slices per sitting are we taking down? If I get you a large 8 slices, how many are going down?
Now, if I'm being honest with you, only one slice because I don't even like pizza.
Okay. What's your favorite food? Then what's your go-to quick, easy kind of junk food?
Quick, easy junk, French fries. Always French fries.
That's a great answer. Yeah, you can't beat that. All right, you're a running back. Would you prefer to juke a defender or run a defender over?
Oh, okay. You see, I want you to kind of elaborate this question for me. Explain to me what's going on in the game. Is this like a heated game where we're talking trash or like just normal play style?
Yeah, let's go rival game. So for you at UCF, that'll be the Cows of South Florida, which is in Tampa. We'll get to that later. So that's us playing the Cows in South Florida. It is 2017. We're winning fourth quarter. We're trying to ice the game away. It's a 3rd and 3. You get the ball on a sweep at the edge. One defender coming at you. Do you want to juke him to get the first down, or do you want to bowl him over for the first down?
I'm gonna run him over and then score.
Even better.
It just puts the linchpin on it.
Is that the violent part of your game right there?
Oh yeah. That is the extreme violent part.
All right, last one for you. What's the most embarrassing song that's in your phone right now?
What's the most embarrassing song in my phone? Oh, I wish my girlfriend was here because she would answer it so fast.
So some of your future teammates, TJ Buller told us he had some Hannah Montana. Caden Kittler had a pocket full of sunshine in his phone. So that's kind of what you're up against right now.
I don't really have any of like that on my phone. I'll probably say "Normal Girl" by Cienza.
Okay. Trace's favorite, by the way.
Yeah. Same thing. Same answer, basically. I saw on your Twitter handle last week, Gasparilla Bowl, about to go hunt some gators for my sis's birthday. Did you enjoy the game?
Oh, yes, sir. I loved it. We loved every moment of it, especially my sister. We got amazing photos and like this photo booth thing they had for the alumni, and she loved every moment of it, and she definitely told me that was like her most favorite birthday ever she's ever had. And her being 24 that just spoke to me a lot when she was able to celebrate the birthday with the UCF family.
Where'd you hang out? Where'd you watch the game from?
Is it the Hyundai Club?
Oh, the club.
Yeah,
you weren't on the field.
It was the Hyundai.
Ah.
Yeah, it was the Hyundai Club with all the UCF alumni.
So you got to meet fans. What has been your reaction to Night Nation's reception to you so far?
Oh, I love it. I love the way they just embraced my family and I, and just embraced me being a new player that's going to be playing for the team, and just the whole interaction with the fan base and everyone taking pictures, smiling, laughing, just talking throughout the game, and just being able to just watch and celebrate everything that was happening in the game with them was just amazing, because it gave me that real energy vibe for what it feels like for when I'll be playing on the field for them.
All right, give us a little film breakdown here. What did you see in the game? What did you like about the Knights?
I liked the way they used Isaiah to run through the tackles and set up everything else. And I loved the way Ryan O'Keefe and Mikey Keene, like they're just execution on the shot plays was just, it was something that was just crazy. Cause I remember watching the plays set up. Like I could tell when they lined up that it was definitely gonna be a shot play because of the situation they were in, but they the way they just executed it, it was perfectly. It was the play when Ryan O'Keefe did the tribute to Otis, and he threw up the deuces, and that just whole play execution that's something that just stuck out to me, because like it was all set up perfectly because the defense was worn out. Ryan was already drilled up, having an amazing game himself, and then Mikey just staying calm, collected in the pocket and just launching downfield was beautiful. And Isaiah being able to just run through tackles, pound it out more and more for 2 touchdowns and just ice the game away and take it away out of the Gators' hands was just something else that just really stood out to me. And the defense was just amazing all game.
Adam, I don't know about you, but I'm ready to run through a wall for Jordan. Okay, I love him already. You enroll early? Are you a January enrollee?
Yes, sir. I enrolled January 8th or 7th. I think it's 8th.
That is a happy new year.
Yes, sir.
We have really enjoyed having you on the Sons of UCF Live. We've seen some comments scroll across the screen. Fans are really looking forward to seeing you here. We wish you all the best in your education and your football pursuits at UCF. Jordan, thanks so much for being on the Sons of UCF Live.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Thank you much. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to y'all, too.
Love him.
Love him. He may be president soon, for crying out loud. My goodness.
Ooh, and he was a fan favorite. The Hyundai Club. He put out a message on social media. Where Night Nation at? I mean, I saw Cost-Seg Advisor. He got a photo with him. This is he's ready to hit the ground running.
Who's more famous, Jordan McDonald or Cost-Seg Advisor?
Well, that's a fair point. Good to hear that he's enrolling in January. How do these kids go right from high school to being in college? But you love the January enrollee. They'll be ready for spring ball. Again, with the uncertainty about Isaiah Bowser's return, you always need depth at running back. Ready to see this guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's a beast on the field. And if you didn't get goosebumps when you tell that story about what he did at his local high school, I mean, that just shows you the kind of character, the kind of kid he is. And it's interesting, Trace, we wonder a little bit about Gus as a recruiter and how much does that matter? Again, to your point, I don't know if there were talking points. He said it was his own research. He knew how many times Gus had beaten Nick Saban. He knew Gus going down there. I think he called him an old-fashioned SEC coach.
I like that.
That's a compliment.
No,
obviously,
he beat Saban 3 times. That's a compliment, right?
Obviously, that matters, right? That matters to him, and I think that's important. And we think through like what recruiting is like, and you heard exactly from Jordan that connection point. So that was actually really interesting to hear.
Heupel giving him a run, as did South Carolina. So all of your Steve Spurrier first year coach, all coming after him. I like what he had to say. Let's go back to the bowl, which he watched and broke down the plays that stood out to us. What gives you hope going into the 2022 season that you saw out of this game?
Ryan O'Keefe. I think he's clearly established himself as an elite playmaker in college football. Throughout the entirety of college football, we saw him on the end of rounds. We saw him on the long pass. He got close on a couple of kick returns. I think he's an elite playmaker. Gus did a great job getting the ball in his hands. If he's back there next year and we have the ability to get the ball in his hands, I think he's going to be dynamic. He's going to do a lot of great things. And so he gives me a lot of hope that even though, the offense is in a little bit of fluctuation with quarterback, maybe running backs moving around. If you tell me I got Ryan O'Keefe in my receiving core, I feel really good about that.
This is a kind of an odd answer, perhaps, but Mikey Keene gave me a little bit of hope. He really has not turned the ball over these last several weeks, right? He managed the game. If he makes a big leap, especially going into spring ball, we got a long way until fall in preseason camp. He could develop into a strong quarterback for the Knights.
I mean, I wouldn't bet against him, right? I mean, he has all the runway in front of him now. If he mentioned in the post game he wants to go get stronger, build his body up a little bit. Maybe somebody pulls him aside and they maybe get the hitch out of his release a little bit, which obviously could make him a little bit more accurate, a little faster release. He's got all the runway in front of him. He doesn't seem like a guy who's going to shy away from the work. So, I mean, I don't know that I'd bet against him to come back a better version of himself next season. You saw enough this year to tell you he's got some building blocks. Are there gaps from where you'd want to see him develop? Absolutely. But he's got the next 8 months to do that. So I'm curious to see what he does in the offseason. In his mind, I know the transfer portal's out there and all that stuff. And if I'm Mikey Keene, in my mind, this is my job to lose. So I want to hold on to that. So I'm curious to see kind of his mentality in the offseason.
All right, flip side. Again, you guys did a great job on the pod breaking down the game. Mike's insights from being at the Gasparilla Bowl in person. What left you with, I'm not sure going into 2022?
Ryan O'Keefe, not with aside, the wide receiver depth, I think, is going to be something we have to look at next year. Obviously, we're going to lose Brandon Johnson. Jalen Robinson did not play. I think we're still kind of confused as to what his status with the team is. I think there's some people thinking one thing, but nothing is official yet, right? So I think, where do we get that depth in receiver? Who's going to be that second or third option for Mikey? Because if they're going to key on Ryan O'Keefe, they're going to need somebody to step up. Brandon Johnson did a pretty good job of that this season. But he's gone, right? Redshirt senior, so he's out. So who's going to be that next receiver? Secondarily, linebacker depth. Obviously we're losing Bryson Armstrong, so that's a big loss. Who can come in and step in the linebacker core? I know there's some names in the transfer portal we're looking at, but you saw how important that role was tackling specifically against Florida. So who's going to be in that linebacker core, I think, has me concerned.
I guess I'm concerned that here we are on December 29th, and there's still a great deal of uncertainty, right? We don't know if Isaiah Bowser is going to be back. We don't know who on the offensive line might return. They lose some depth there, right? You could lose 3 guys on the offensive line. Do you have any of them return? And who's going to be added? I mean, these names we're talking about now, Isaiah Bowser, we weren't talking about at this time last year. It wasn't even a name on our mind. And now we go into this game. I remember Twitter Libby there asking constantly, what's the latest on Isaiah Bowser? Who knows? And there's they close ranks there. Gus Malzahn on what gets released to the media. So, if a kid follows somebody on Twitter or social media, Instagram, suddenly it's, he's looking at that school. So, you get a great deal of uncertainty. But so for me, this has really become a 12-month sport. I lived in Alabama for a couple of years where I worked, and Alabama Auburn was sports radio, the newspaper talked about every day. Every show, 365. And now with this transfer portal, this era of free agency, we don't know what this roster is going to look like. I mean, kids enrolling in January, right? Thank goodness Mikey Keene was an early enrollee, right? And had those reps. And good to see Jordan will be a part of that mix as well. So what I want to do, let's game plan a little bit for future shows. Start next week. Let's maybe we'll talk about the quarterback position, how we evaluated it, and just go position by position. Yeah, clue Mike in. On that. He'll just show up at 7:59. We're back on Thursday next week, by the way, back on Thursday, on Wednesday this week because of a big basketball game we're going to get to in just a moment. But I asked on my Twitter this week, and it's something that you and I talked about, and I was kind of surprised. My question is, where do you think this victory over Florida ranks in UCF football history? Now, as a little tongue-in-cheek here with biggest victory ever, which drew a little bit less than 1%. Top 10. 55.7. I think that's fair, but I guess I was surprised at the number of people that were annoyed that I didn't offer an outside the top 10 choice. I think there's an argument. You have to say you can't kick the Peach Bowl out. You can't kick the Fiesta Bowl out. They're games. The Black Friday game against the Cows, just from a enjoyment standpoint. That's a tremendous game. At coach_21 is one comment I ripped. Not sure I'd put beating one of the worst UF teams in the last 40 years that has no coach, missing multiple players, and playing guys that have already announced transferring, maybe top 15. But see, where my thinking was, and I'm curious about yours, is our buddy cost seg advisor, who wisely, maybe Jordan got his photo with him instead of the other way around. He says, to me, it is top 10, but added layers of recruiting that get tossed into winning, being 50-12, over the last 5 years, 30-2 at home, the BCS New Year's Six Bowls, conference championships, draft picks. You beat teams like Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, Florida. For him, it's just another piece. And he points out that this is what our friends over in Tampa didn't capitalize on their success at any point. When they were number 2, how did they parlay that? When they had that big battle in 2017, they just unraveled after that. So he sees it as another piece, and I think that's a fair observation, that this is another piece. I think the bragging rights, have you razzed a UF fan? I certainly have.
I have, yeah.
And I'm not watching these bowl games for the most part, but my Gator friends, I've been saying it means a lot, doesn't it? It just means more, right? As I hear them make excuses for Mississippi State, of all teams, So I think the value of that certainly makes it a top 10 win.
Yeah, I kind of agree with a little bit of what Coach 21 said. 6 and 7, no coach, interims, opt-outs, blah, 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 blah. And I would think that's true if it was Iowa. if it was Washington State's, but it's Florida. It's in state. We're gonna recruit against these guys every single day for the next umpteen number of years. We're gonna be battling out for all different, transfer portal guys, all the guys from Florida. It's such a talent-rich state. So to be able to walk into a living room of a recruit and say, "Hey, what do you think about going? You guys, coach, and maybe FSU, maybe Florida. Hey, did you see us beat Florida in the Gasparilla Bowl?" And sure, it's a Gasparilla Bowl, and it's not a national championship. I get all that, but at least it now gives you some talking points, and it shows a recruit, hey, UCF is at that level. If I was concerned about that, if I wasn't sure, Gus now has empirical evidence. So while I can definitely understand that the beauty of the game and all the backdrops to it weren't as scintillating as the Cal game in 17, the AAC championship in 17 against Memphis, even maybe that Louisville game in 2013. I get those were all great games. But I think Kostegger's right. You add in that element of Florida in your own backyard, a team that you're kind of building a budding rivalry with. And the other thing to think through is this game is a 4-year buildup, right? Because we wanted this game in 2017, 2018. So I think that's the other element. If we had just gotten thrown into a bowl with a 6-7, Iowa State, and we beat them, okay, no big deal. We've been circling the Gators for the last 3 or 4 years now. And the fan bases have been circling each other on Twitter, and to have it now come to fruition after everything that's gone on, I think that's what vaults into the top 10 for me.
And you know how much brand matters, and good to hear Jordan talk about that brand. By the way, interesting his comment about coaching instability. We've talked about this a little bit with the turnover from Frost to Heupel. Yeah. Boy, how important we may not have Gus Malzahn for the long haul, but how important will it be for him to be here more than 2 seasons, to string together some success? We talked so much about this game and those misperceptions from Florida's athletic director, their fan base. They didn't want a 2-for-1 really. To win this game, it really means we meant it. Bring it on. All those years we said bring it on. Because now to have dropped it, you were really trying to duck us. You couldn't even beat a 6-6 team. I thought it was interesting, some people who said that the win over Georgia and in the Liberty Bowl, the 6-7 Georgia team, which is my argument against 6-6 teams being in bowls, because I don't think you should participate in a bowl and finish under 500, as part of my argument on that. I'd rather beat the 6-6 Florida. I also think, to Kosteg's point, this is so much in eras, right? The Alabama win was the biggest win for a very long time until you add in other wins. And isn't it nice now to have other wins that we can have debates like this? Because I don't know what that top 10 looked like just a couple of years ago. Pre-2017, what was that top 10? We're going back to a lot of 2013 games. Now, do some of those 2013 games fall out? And now there's even some people, the fan base that's come with us since 2017 that don't know the history of that Alabama game and how important that was. That was a 3-8 Alabama team. They fired their coach. He's selling used cars somewhere after that, at Alabama. But that was a huge win to beat a blue blood like that. So I think it's somewhat eras. The post game, there were a lot of great Gus Malzahn sound bites, but his on what comes next for UCF really stood out to me.
This is just the first step. I mean, we're not there, but the way we're fixing to recruit, after a night like this, it's going to help. We had a really, really strong recruiting class just a few days ago. It's going to even get better. And like I said, our trajectory is going up, and everybody knows it. And our fan base is young, energetic. The future's going to be a lot of fun.
And that sends a message too, right? The billboard campaign all over the state, billboards up in Gainesville. That's why beating the Gators in this game, which our friend Eric Lopez, Black and Gold Banneret, said more than 3 million people tuned into that. And for bowls, that's a big number, going up against the NFL on a Thursday night. Florida is a big brand name, and beating them helps continue to elevate UCF as a more important brand.
First off, the backdrops of that press conference killed my OCD. There's a lot going on there. Here's what I really like.
Whoever shot that was not in the what's that Bob Euchre line? I'm in the first row. I mean, no, he was he was way back there.
The game literally did not end, Trace, and you saw it on TV like I did. You were not at the game either. The rush in the field and the microphone's in front of Gus's face, and what does this win mean? Yada yada yada. It wasn't 2 questions in before he started talking about recruiting. Gus knew what this meant. He was prepared for his speaking points. And I think he said fixing to recruit probably no fewer than 4 times, either in the post game or in that post game presser. So you definitely saw how he was looking to capitalize on this. You saw how much, I think he understood how much this meant and how much he's going to capitalize this when he goes into, future living rooms of players. So I applaud Gus for just being on message, on brand right away. He didn't skip a beat. He was talking recruiting right there on the field. So I think that tells you how important it is that he knew that he needed something like this to continue to drive that future of college football message.
So we're going to be talking about this game for a long time to come, years of bragging rights. So we'll turn the page next week, 2022. We'll start talking about the quarterbacks, kind of a countdown to spring ball. Don't know the exact date, March-ish sometime, but when you're going position group by position group, you'll get there by the start of spring ball. We're on Wednesday night this week, kind of an important basketball game, expected to be a sold-out dungeon. Knights 8-2 against a Michigan team early on. Top 25, top 5, right? They stumbled a bit, 7-4. They haven't played a game for about 10 days, a COVID cancellation. UCF just beat North Alabama 75-64. Again, Knights 8-2, they've got that one conference win, but this is one, especially with these net rankings, right? They need this for the resume.
They do. Obviously, losing the Florida State game will hurt us at some point, right? Because that was another opportunity to get a good net win, which is the new RPI in college basketball.
Yeah, UCF's 59 in the net, Michigan 63. By the way, Oklahoma, which would have been a nice win. Yeah. They just lose at the end. That was the game you were at, right? So you were the jinx. You were the jinx on that. I think Oklahoma's up to 34 in the net, but quality loss, right? It's a quality loss now.
Yeah, so I think this is a great opportunity. Obviously, it's going to be on ESPN2. Michigan is a blue blood program, so we were just talking about do you remember the time we beat Alabama, right? Mm-hmm. The basketball program hasn't really had a lot of those, right? We had the win over the Gators, in 07 or 08, whatever it was, 09.
Too long ago.
We haven't had one of those signature type wins. This gives them that opportunity. It's on our home court. So it's a chance for all the fans to rush there. Obviously, I suspect a lot of Michigan fans will be there trying to double dip between this and the Orange Bowl the following night. But it's a big opportunity for UCF. Michigan's a good team. They have 4 losses, Minnesota, North Carolina, Arizona, and Seton Hall. They've been all those games. Arizona kind of blew them out, but they've been in the other games. So they're a formidable team. We played them in 2020. They beat us pretty handily. We were in it the first 5-10 minutes or so, and they ran away from us. They have a really good player in Hunter Dickinson, 7'1" center that's 7'1", 15 a game. So he's going to be a problem down low. So this is going to be a tough game, but it's a great opportunity for UCF. I think Darius Perry is going to tell us more about that in a second, Trace. But I think the guys are looking forward to taking on this challenge.
Players can say it's the next game and it's 1-0 and that they are amped up as much for North Alabama as they are Michigan. I don't know. They know who Michigan is, right? By the way, Michigan has basically relocated to Central Florida the last couple of days. They've been practicing in Orlando.
Have you seen the weather? I don't blame them.
Well, also, as Coach Juwan Howard said in his media availability with the Michigan media via Zoom today, that it gives them a chance to get out ahead, keep them in a tight bubble, though, of course, they were at the Magic game. But perhaps you hope, fingers crossed, you saw a bowl game canceled 4 hours before kickoff, so you hope that this one comes. But Darius Perry talked about the importance of playing Michigan.
I'm really excited. I mean, this is Michigan, but I mean, I'm excited to play every game. I just like playing for real. So, I mean, whether it's the Sisters of the Blonde or the Lakers, I'm gonna be the same excited. So, I mean, we're really excited to play that game. Come out 1-0 if we can.
Sorry, I'm looking up the Sisters of the Blind.
Were they the Sisters of the Poor?
I'm looking up.
Were they poor
rating
because they were blind?
I don't know. I can't find their net rating, so I'll get back to you on
that. He'll take on all comers. Now, the Knights are 8-2. In fairness, right? All 8 wins are against teams that they should have won. They missed opportunity at home against Oklahoma. Auburn, pretty good team. And that was a heck of an atmosphere. It certainly came through on TV, which I wonder about this game tomorrow. Expected to be a sellout. I'm not sure if it was officially announced, but it would be a sellout. Students not back yet, so I don't know who's going to be in that section. But Florida, Central Florida has a lot of people that have relocated from Michigan, a lot of Wolverines fans in Central Florida. They always bring a good crowd when the Orlando Bowls. They've got a game down in real South Florida coming up. You wonder how much of that place will be packed with Wolverine fans.
Yeah, I suspect you're going to see some trace, right? I suspect some may do that double dip Orlando Thursday, Miami Friday for the game against Georgia. So I think it's a possibility. And I think if you think about Auburn, right, and one of the things that made that game so challenging was the crowd was really into it. It was a hostile environment, in loose terms, right? Can we replicate that, in addition to Financial Arena? Can we bring that kind of energy? Some people always talk about the student section not being at center court, and sometimes that maybe messes things up. Who knows? But I think this is a chance for everyone to get out and to cheer the Knights on and see if we can truly build a home court advantage and maybe make it a little more challenging for Michigan. Yell a little bit, do some free throw stuff. Who knows? Every point will count at some point. But I would love to see a packed black and gold crowd. There's going to be some maize and blue. I get it. But I would love to see a predominant black and gold crowd.
Well, we'll see. It's a 7:00 start. Coach Dawkins talked about his team's 8-2 start.
We're through 10 games, with 1/3 through our season. So I think there's a lot of room for improvement in our team. I see it in them, and we have to try to get that out of them. And that's what practice is for. That's what playing a great schedule will do for us. It will continue to help us get better, and that's exciting.
It is exciting. Of course, 7:00, ESPN2, Thursday. After this, Knights hit the road. The second conference game, they're 1-0. They beat Temple earlier. That's January 2, Sunday, 2:00. Meantime, women's basketball, they're 8-2 as well. They had a game at Princeton canceled. COVID issues. UCF's press release kind of vague about that. Princeton said they were trying to schedule another game, so it made it sound like maybe UCF had the COVID-related issues. AAC opener, home against Temple, Sunday at noon. Of course, check schedules, have those alerts on. With the COVID cancellations going on across sports, you can never be quite sure, especially if you're heading out to the arena. Looking elsewhere around the kingdom, volleyball, congratulations, McKenna Melville. I'm not familiar with this publication, or you? You get a subscription, don't you? Volleyballmag.com?
You're just sitting here somewhere.
Second team All-American. And boy, this one I dropped into our agenda rundown at the last moment because I thought it'd be fodder for Mike.
I get it for the articles, Trace. I get it for the articles.
Yes. Baseball, the Knights picked 5th in the preseason coaches poll. That's really not going to make UCF Mike happy. A couple of preseason all-conference members of the Knights on the all-conference team. Shortstop Alex Freeland, outfielder Jeffrey Pena, and designated hitter Tom Jostin. Before long, we'll be talking about baseball and softball and the other spring sports. But 5th, going to have to do better than 5th, or the hot seat is really going to be turned up. All right, we got a lot of questions this week, which allowed us to talk about some news. How about this one? Our buddy Brian Peterson, Brian W. Peterson, which what I consider sort of the Jeopardy audio daily double. I think we may put out a poll on this. I may retire the walk and talk, getting people saying you did escalators 2 weeks in a row. It was really a byproduct of where I was. It's hard to come. This is show 49, by the way, that we've been doing. It's hard to come up with places to be.
They didn't have a tarmac where you were at. They got to think creatively next time.
Yeah, but kudos to Brian for what I'm calling our audio daily double here. His take on the walk and talk.
Hello, Knight Nation and Sons of UCF. Brian Peterson coming to you here from sunny Boynton Beach, Florida. I've got my Gasparilla Bowl hat on from the Knights' big victory over Florida in the Gasparilla Bowl. My question for the Suns this week: if Dylan Gabriel is the one playing quarterback instead of Mikey Keem in the game, do we still win the game? Now, before you scoff and say, well, of course we would, think back to Dylan's history. There was some drama in the locker room. He couldn't get it done against Tulsa twice. He couldn't get it done against Memphis. There were some other games against Cincinnati he played poorly in. I wonder if Dylan would have had the heart that Mikey Keene showed in that game and would have pulled out the victory. I think it's a valid question.
It is a valid question, Brian. Well, let's first grade the walk and talk.
Yeah, I need a square footage check on his backyard. He was taking a lap there. I need a square footage check on that. But no, great walk and talk, although he did admit in some comments in the follow-up that he ran into a chair. So do with that what you will. Yeah, do with that what you will.
I missed that comment. It's a good question, though, right? I mean, one of the knocks on Dylan is that he didn't win big games, and he was in that Louisville game, right? It was his pick six. Okay, it wasn't entirely him, but it still was his pick six, right? That's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I do like what he said, though, about Mikey, his heart. Mikey has shown that throughout the season.
Here's the only thing I would try to posit and to answer Brian's question. If Dylan's playing the game, I feel like Gus Malzahn is going to call plays differently. I'm not saying he was calling plays specifically to acquiesce to Dylan or make him happy, but clearly they had an understanding early on that they were going to try to do some things offensively that are a bit different than what Gus did. So if Gus is calling plays differently, if we're taking more shots downfield, are there more tip passes? Are there more passes off shoulder pads? Mikey allowed him to be a little bit more balanced, maybe call a more conservative game, which in this particular contest is what we really needed. So that's the only way I'll answer that is I think if Dylan's in there, we're throwing it more, we're taking more chances, and maybe we end up making a mistake or two where Mikey just had to sort of manage the offense, make the big throw when he had to, hand the ball off, don't make any stupid plays, and we come out with a win. So I'm not saying we wouldn't have won with Dylan, but I do think that it changes the game plan completely.
By the way, is the Dylan premise based on he doesn't get hurt against Louisville or he comes back when he was expected to come back? Because if he doesn't get hurt, probably beat Navy, maybe SMU, maybe they're 9-3, 10-2, maybe they're going to the Fed. Oh, that didn't get played. Maybe they're in a different bowl. So maybe there is no matchup with the Gators. At Carol 1024. She opens up, you're the endless speculation guy. You and JP Gilbert, not me, but she opens up the can on thoughts on the transfer rumors. She's talking about Tatum Bethune. By the way, credit to Brandon Helwig, UCFsports.com, the Dungeon. He's been mentioning some of the smoke around that. Now it's being reported by some FSU people. You remember second half Randy up there at Florida State as he makes his tour across all of the colleges in the state of Florida. Some rumors that Tatum Bethune might be entering the transfer portal. I wish him the best if that's the case, but I would prefer not to see it.
Yeah, there's no way I can spin this as good news. There's nothing good about this particular news. And I think the reality is, you said it earlier, Trace, this is sort of where we are now in college football. We're in a position where players are going to start making decisions that are best for them. I think as fans, the challenge is, particularly with college sports, Trace, I'm curious if you feel the same. I think in college sports, there's more of an investment. Right. We went to UCF. That's our school. We walked those halls. That's our campus. I was at that reflecting pond. And somebody comes to your school and they feel part of your family. And all of a sudden they're like, hey, I don't want to be part of your family anymore. And those hurt feelings come in. And all of a sudden you get a little bit sensitive about that. And I think we just have to understand now that for some of these college kids, this is becoming a business. This is becoming them building their business. This is like an internship in some respects. And I think you're going to see more and more of this, of guys making decisions that they think are within their best interest, both for maybe their personal life or their professional life. There's nothing good I can say about this. I can't spin this in any way that makes it make sense to any of us. He's clearly going to do what he thinks is the right move for him. Do I like this? No. Do I think the sky is falling? Not really, because I think you're seeing this across the board. What we were talking before the show, 1,000+ kids in the transfer portal. So clearly not the only school that's going to deal with this kind of stuff. Do I like to see this? Do I like to see our QB1 and arguably our top defensive player not on the team next year? That's not good news. But I do think this is an opportunity for us to continue to recruit in good players. You don't maybe replace a Tatum Bethune. Maybe you replace around him and you find some serviceable guys. And to your point, if that's what he wants to do, you got to wish him well. I don't understand it personally, and I don't necessarily know that I like it, but we're not in a position where we have the ability to influence that. So I say hold on, you root for the school, and you keep rooting for the black and gold.
I think, though, the emotional investment is true. I think of it akin to a divorce in a family where someone that's been in your family a long time is now not part of your family. And maybe it hasn't gone so well for those loved ones, certainly that couple, but that's a person you still cared about for a long time. And I think of that, so for me, it's just you got to wish these guys the best, but there is that emotional attachment that I think is different than the pros. Carol also.
Sorry, Trace. A lot of people say this about the pros, but I think the one main difference is with the pros, you know that a person's contract's up. You know they're going to be a free agent at the end of the year.
Yeah.
With college, you're blindsided by it. And I think that's the other element. In the NFL, NBA, whatever, this is so-and-so's free agent year. He may sign with such and such. In college, it's blindside. You don't see it coming until it hits you. And I think that's the other thing that makes it different and hurts a little bit more because you don't always see it coming. And then when it hits you, you're to your point, you're kind of surprised at it. So I think that's a big difference.
Carol also asked about Bowser. Will he come back? Not sure. There are certainly arguments for him to return. Asks about KZ, as we saw with the hiring of a new coach this week in Chip Lindsey. Okay, let's get this out of our heads that KZ is going to be the offensive coordinator. Maybe he gets a grad assistant position. I still think he has aspirations of seeing what he might be able to do in the pros. He's going to be in the Hula Bowl that will be held in Orlando at the Bounce House January 15th. So still an opportunity to showcase his skills. The future is bright for Mackenzie Milton, no matter which direction he goes in, and he still has dreams that he wishes to pursue. By the way, he's already beaten a lot of the odds, a lot of the naysayers. A lot of people never thought he could do it. So you still want a guy like that on your team, and he'll always be welcome and have a home in Orlando. Our friend Joyce at Rejoice Nights, what are your, she's kind of italicized this, what are your real feelings about the Lindsey hire. I mean, he just got fired from Troy. We beat Gus and Chip's offense in the Peach Bowl. I'm concerned. I don't want to be that concerned. I like the guy has some coaching experience. You know, you can't just look at his coaching record. There are a lot of circumstances, right? Did Gus Malzahn deserve to be fired, or did he have a falling out with some boosters that wanted to do things a different way? That doesn't mean Lindsey was a failure at Troy. Also, maybe the defense was a bit of a letdown. Right? So
yeah, I mean, not the sexiest name in the world from a coaching standpoint. Two things I like about it: he's coached with Gus before, so he knows what he's getting himself into. He knows Gus is going to call plays. There was an interesting article by Brendan Marcello of 24/7 Sports about his style, more air raid style. He's kind of adapted to Gus. And in terms of coaching, here's some stats from his 2015 stint when he was with Southern Miss as their offensive coordinator. They were 5th in touchdowns, 7th in points, 8th in passing yards, 12th in points per game. He knows offense. So how that meshes with Gus, I guess we'll see. He's recruited some big-time guys. The most important thing to me is can he develop a quarterback? Because if it's Mikey Keene or if it's Thomas Castellanos, these are young kids. Can he develop a quarterback? I think that's going to be the most important part. I don't care what offense he calls. If he can develop a quarterback, I feel good about it.
Yeah, she asked, what the heck is going on with Jay Flash? I don't know. You know, guys, well, who knows? Is he fully healed? We thought we were going to see Isaiah Bowser in this game and that game, and we didn't. We got to flash back a little bit. I was happy to see him dumping Powerade on Coach Malzahn, you know, and seeing he's a part of the team. Remember, he transferred in one time. You got to get a waiver for that. And again, I think just like we talked about Tatum, other guys, if you want to be somewhere else, then be somewhere else. But no, we don't know. We don't know. It's just a lot of speculation and rumors. I'm never sure how to say his name. At Sad S Rockers, Rochers. A little premise here. I hate to even bring this up, but what do we see is the future for Gus and UCF? He's living off his buyout right now, and he seems happy to do so. But how long can we expect that to last? Will he wait for the big cash infusion we get from joining the Big 12? Until Gus is not here, we're going to take Gus for his word. You know, we're coming up on the anniversary of his hire, and everything he said at that presser that he won opening day, right? He's carried through. He's been consistent in that messaging. So maybe this is a landing spot. We thought this throughout the George O'Leary era, right? He's going to go to Syracuse. He's going to go here. And he stayed, and he built the program and the stadium and all those things that came under his watch. Did he entertain other offers? Haven't any of us? None of us have ever changed jobs. Maybe Gus is happy. And if he's happy, that's going to mean he's got success here. He's got an athletic director that he likes working with, right? And a guy like Chip Lindsey, a guy he's worked with, right? He's hired people he's familiar with and comfortable with. What's not to like? You heard Isaiah Bowser at that post-game press conference at Gasparilla Bowl. I really like Florida. I like the sunshine. I like the weather. I mean, Gus probably likes it too.
Well, two things. I mean, let's be real. If someone comes in and offers him $8 million a year to go coach someplace else, bye, Gus. I mean, that's just the reality. But I do think that there's an element of Gus, chip on his shoulder, kind of an underdog mentality. Again, this was a high school coach that worked his way up to, one of the elite jobs in the SEC. I think there's a chip on his shoulder. I think he sees an opportunity to build something, and all the naysayers at Auburn who said he couldn't do it, he was washed. I think he sees that chip on his shoulder, sees the Big 12 on the horizon, sees the ability to dominate Florida recruiting. I think there's an element of him that's going to want to stick this out. But if you throw $8 million in his face, I mean, I'm sure I'll help him pack his house up.
Newsflash to all you people listening to the audio version of this on the treadmill. I usually stop us right about 1 hour, but we got so many mailbag questions. I can't just ditch all the questions we got. So if you're planning an hour jog, going to be about an hour 10 or so. So just stay on the treadmill.
Jumpstart on the New Year's resolution. Just a jumpstart on it. You know what I mean? You're going to all do fitness. Here you go.
Yeah.
We're helping you out.
Yeah. At the SOTG, Kyle asked, how much does the cancellation of FSU increase the importance of the Michigan game? Very much so. Very much so, or they have a non-impressive non-conference slate, which means you're going to have to win games that maybe you didn't need to win to boost that net ranking when you get into conference play. At Crash Car 1, good one for you, Adam. Men's basketball had a hard time with Auburn's big front line. How do you think they'll match up with Michigan's bigs? What's that, Hunter Dickinson? 7-1. 7-1. We got no Taco Fall out there now.
Yeah, no, Caleb Houston 6'8", and then Musa Diabate 6'11". So they go big on the front line. Those last two are freshmen, though, so you never know what you're going to get. We're going to need Mbake. We're going to need C.J. Walker, maybe a little Jamil Reynolds, maybe Isaiah Adams. They're going to have to be big on the rebounds. They're going to have to be able to block out. Again, I don't suspect that we're going to be able to stay in front of a 7-1 guy. Mbake is 6'11", though, so we at least have some height there. But he's foul prone. Dickinson runs the floor well. We're going to need our bigger players to step up in the front line because I do think they're going to have a size advantage to us down low.
What would you rather see play out here? A high-flying game like the Miami game where they put up 90-plus points, or a more low-scoring game? Low-scoring game indicates D's clamping down?
Yeah, ideally, right? I mean, I think if you can run these guys off the floor with their size, I think that means we're hitting shots. That means we're getting in transition. That means maybe we're getting, fast break points off turnovers. A half-court slog-down game. I haven't seen a lot of half-court offensive precision out of UCF. Not saying they can't, but I haven't seen them be able to run an offensive set in the half court and get a shot that they want. Darren Green can get his own shot. Darius Perry can create his own shot, but I haven't seen us systematically do that. Typically, I think if we're going to run, I think that's where we have a chance. So, and that thinking, I'll go high scoring because that means we're obviously on the break we're running.
As we said, 8-2, 1/3 of the season. We've seen flashes of Isaiah Adams. Really be nice to see the coming out party
breakout game.
in this game, and then consistent as we hit the road for conference play. At Chet Bortz, how are we feeling about the time between games against the Gators? Personally, I'm enjoying the extended period of bragging rights. Loving every moment of it. Going to talk about it for years.
Yeah. Soak it all up. Yeah, soak it all up. Billy Napier coming in there. Who knows what that's going to be? So enjoy every minute. And let's hope those games stay on the calendar. You never know what will happen in the upcoming years.
At Chad, UCF, what's the long-term significance on recruiting, if any, by beating UF? I think it's positive, right? You can say we beat them, we're moving to the Big 12. The talking points have been laid this year. However, you wonder about this NIL money and the transfer portal. You certainly can make more money going to some other programs with bigger fan bases, legacy programs. You wonder how much of that factor plays in it. But I think head-to-head with guys like Jordan that we had on earlier, I love winning that game. Winning feels better than losing, so it's better for recruiting.
Yeah. And I'll form my answer off what Jordan said. Obviously, a win against the Gators helps. Gus was ready to start recruiting that night, it sounded like. And then Jordan told you, having Gus come in, talk a little bit about what he wants to do, his name, his brand, coupled with good talking points. I think you got to feel good that we're going to be able to go up against, Florida's, Miami's, Florida State's, and battle for some recruits. Transfer portal may be different, but I think recruits may have an opportunity.
At 911_black_gold, what made FSU, Miami, and the Cows fans more mad? UCF claiming the title in 2017 or actually beating UF. Makes them mad. Boy, a lot of anger from those Miami fans.
Yeah.
I expected the Gators fans, Florida State fans were a little less hopped up, but the Miami, boy, those people, they talk, don't they? They talk about everything.
Listen.
They won one bowl game since what, 2008? They lost 10-0 to Louisiana Tech in some Weed Eater Bowl or whatever it was called. I mean, obnoxious fan base. God.
I got tagged in a post by UCF Sports Info with a graphic of the Big Four. I don't know, 200 and something mentions later. I mean, I've got Tennessee fans yelling at us. I don't know why they're mad. I've got Miami fans yelling. To answer the question, though, I think it's chicken and the egg, though, because I think they're mad at us for beating Florida, but all they kept talking about was how we claim the national championship. So somehow I think that's probably equal, because I think somebody said something to the effect of, "Way to go, Florida! Now you give UCF more things to talk about," right? So I think that's kind of chicken and the egg on that one.
Boy, that has stayed. I didn't expect that to be a lingering thing.
Why
all
is
these
Tennessee
years.
mad at us? Does anybody know why Tennessee's mad at us? Is it hype?
Because because we dismiss Heupel. Okay, enjoy your minute of offense and your defense on the field. And boy, you're rooting for them in the bowl game? Not so much.
No,
no,
they're playing Purdue. I think I took Purdue in the pick'em.
At UCF Guy 23, here we go. What if we beat Louisville? Dylan doesn't get hurt. We beat Navy, SMU, and either beat Cincinnati or lose a close one. Would you prefer, this is a good setup though, would you prefer the Gasparilla versus UF, Birmingham Bowl versus Auburn, or let's say we win the AAC title game, play in New Year's Six versus a top 10 team? And then I guess the premise is, does Dylan still leave after all of those things? So many what ifs.
Lots of back there.
So many what ifs.
I guess I'm writing these down.
And we don't know Dylan's stated reasons or comfortability in Gus Malzahn's offense. If we're in Cincinnati's position in one of these playoff games, maybe he rethinks it.
I would think, and under this premise, he doesn't get hurt, so he's continuing to play, which means I think the injury allowed him to basically then take the excuse of, I'm done, I'm opting out. If he has to keep playing, I don't think after the UConn game, he's like, you know what, by the way, I don't think he just leaves then, right? So in that construct, I think he's still there. Does he stay after this? I don't think so. But give me New Year's Six game first, then give me Florida, and then give me whatever the Weed Eater Independence Holiday Bowl he was talking about.
The Weed Independence Holiday Bowl. At UCF, Biggie, hey Biggie, jumps in with, by the way, goes several weeks without asking a question. Feels like he's entitled to ask 3, I see. Have we seen the last of Gatewood as a quarterback in our offense? Who the heck knows? Every time we saw him, I was hoping it was the last time we saw him. Convert him to a tight end already. Seems there's some openings there.
I assume he has some sort of embarrassing photos of Gus Malzahn that he's holding over.
What's going on? What do you think of our depth at wide receiver for 2022? Need more.
Yeah.
Does Flash
absolutely.
come back? Is he healthy? We know we don't have Brandon Johnson. This is where I go back to my answer of uncertainty. I want to know who's on the roster before we start spring ball, and we still have a national signing day. One thing, though, is that these guys looking for other opportunities does free open scholarships.
I think receiver-wise, can Titus make a leap? We saw him make a pretty nice catch in the fourth quarter of the Gasparilla Bowl. And then one of these two guys, Deontay Marks and Jordan Johnson, both transfers from Florida, Notre Dame, respectively. Can one of those two guys step in and fill that role? We didn't see a lot of those two guys.
Titus.
Can one of those two guys do that? But Titus, I think, gives me a chance. Quan Lee's coming in. So what does he bring? I think that's another name. But the receiving core is definitely something that, as I said earlier, I've got some concerns about.
Aside from early Christmas gift at UCF win, what was the best gift you received and gift you gave? How about the new headphones? I like my new headphones. So I don't know what it does with the shape of my head and all that, but I didn't get hair, so that would have been the gift that kept on giving. But so
yeah,
I'd say the headphones.
Best gift I got. I got this. My son got me this UCF watch band. I don't know if we can see them.
No, you pull it out of the. You got it.
There we go.
Oh yeah, there you go.
There we go.
By the way, when are we going to involve your daughter in this show? Because she is the standout performer on the pod. When asked about what she got for Christmas gifts, her answer, she was just tremendous. Did you get a phone? No, I didn't get a phone.
High maintenance. Yeah, high maintenance.
Well, I know you're in contract negotiations for her return in 2022, but would you run by, maybe throw in, sweeten the pot, something we can do? Maybe she could just ask one of the questions of us.
I will effort something. I mean, it may cost me a phone. Thank you very much, Chris. But I will effort something.
I'm sure UCF Mike has a hat or something that he
I don't think he does, actually.
that he could give her. What about the best gift you gave? How about this one? I reached out. I've been talking, my good buddy, the Nightalorian, and my nephew is a big Star Wars fan. He created one of the Knights helmets and shipped it out to my nephew. So he's got a custom helmet made by the Nightalorian. Was my favorite gift because my nephew just loves Star Wars. So he's got a little custom piece that nobody else has.
Yeah, so my son is really into making paper airplanes. So all over my house are just paper airplanes just strewn everywhere. So I found a paper airplane kit that has the folds on it. It has different styles and all these, like 1,000 different ways to make paper airplanes. And we got him a new scooter. He got a new pair of headphones, but the paper was his favorite gift. So seeing his joy throwing paper airplanes over my head on the couch is probably the favorite gift that I gave this year.
I like that. Get a little of that on video. Let's throw that up on the show next week.
Don't tempt him. He's actually jealous he doesn't have a segment on the show, so don't tempt him.
Oh, well, we can work on that. I know you said Mike wasn't in the transfer portal, but who knows? Okay,
Is Addison the new third co-host? Is that what we're doing?
He may be seeking an NIL deal with the Banneret people, or something like that. At UCF Knots, doesn't recruiting an offensive assistant have a nice ring to it for Mackenzie Milton? How about NIL executive and coordinator? Maybe he can handle that.
Look, I want Mackenzie around UCF as much as anybody else, but give the kid some time to make decisions. We all forget he's 23, 24 years old. Where were you at 23, 24? He's played football his entire life. If that's not going to work out, maybe he wants to travel for a year. Maybe he wants to do something that, that he enjoys and take some time away. So maybe he'll stay around the game, but I think all that stuff will be decided. I have a funny feeling Mackenzie will do whatever Mackenzie wants to do, and whatever those opportunities are, he'll have them available to him. So I'd love to see him in black and gold in some form or fashion. Maybe to your point, Trace, that's an administrative type role. Who knows? But I say we let the kid make his first life choice after college and see where that takes him. By
the way, when you come back from the injury that he did, what can't you do? You can do anything. And at UCF_defender, how realistic is it to expect KZ to be added to the staff? If so, what would be a good position for him to start with? Is he even interested? I just don't think he's there yet. I think UCF will have an open door for something. I just find him as a brand ambassador, right? I mean, he's just going to be She's going to be with us in some form or fashion. At Diana Mims Reed, hi Diana. She asks, "What do you think the real reason Jay Flash didn't play in the bowl game?" We don't know. We don't know. He don't Powerade on Gus.
Rumors are he still wasn't healthy. I mean, people are saying that we're at the game. He looked engaged in the sidelines. He had the shower of Gus Malzahn. He was cheering. He was clapping. He looked engaged. So I'll take it for its word right now. Obviously, we understand the smoke. We understand why there may be some connection elsewhere. But for right now, he's on the team. So I'm going to assume that that's where he's at. But, I mean, check back tomorrow.
Do you think he's hoping to transfer to UCLA to be with Dylan? I don't know. If he does, good luck to him. I hope he's back. That's all. What do we think? When do we think we'll see Recovery Cove happen? Tell you what, gonna need a lot more donors, Diana. This is a big $150 million project, and they ain't there yet. You know, we've had this Big 12 announcement, and I don't want to knock our fan base. We talk about it being very young, 300,000 plus alums. Average age of the alums, about 35, 36, 37, somewhere in there. Not a lot of folks leaving bequests to UCF. They haven't been announcing a lot of big dollar donors. Where's the naming rights for the stadium? You know, at some point, we're going to be on a year with Terry Mohajir. Going to need a lot more money because you're seeing these NIL deals. You're seeing Texas pony up an offensive line community service project committee for $50 million or whatever it is. Going to need a lot. This is big boy play now. You want out of the American? You want into the Big 12? Got to have a lot more money.
We don't have time to discuss it tonight, Trace. But I think an interesting story at some point is you're seeing the Gators do it with the Gator Collect, everything it's called. FSU is doing something where fans are basically coming together to make NIL money. So if you only have, whatever that fund of money is that you can then give away to UCF, do you want to give it towards players? Or do you want to give it towards facilities? I think there's going to be some tough choices that have to be made at some point. I think that's a good conversation for a future topic, because if you only have a little bit of income that's dispensable to you, where are you going to point it at?
And we know the facilities that were unveiled and a lot of upgrades that are needed. If you've been to a baseball game, you know you can't see the scoreboard. It doesn't function. So there's money needed for facilities and projects. Paper and Lace Cove. at night_merchant. Khalid Davis ending his college career early for the NFL draft. Smart move? Gamble? Huge mistake. I think his body of work is good on tape. I think the question, based on the timing of his injury, is people are going to want to see how he recovers from that injury. But again, based on the timing in season, would he be even cleared for a return based on the start of the season for UCF? I wish him all the best. We exchanged messages this week, and he's a good guy.
He's a really good, we said on the show, he's probably one of the most accessible UCF players that's out there. He messages people back. He takes pictures with everybody. So you can't help but root for him. I would say somewhere between good move and gamble, only because of this. He didn't play in 2020 because of COVID. So he was playing his best football so far this year, but that's 5-6 games on tape. Is that going to be enough for a college scout or pro scout to look at him and go, okay, that's the guy? I think he has the body of work, to your point, Trace. I think he has the measurables, but the tape might not be there. So I think that's the thing that maybe makes that a gamble for him.
Robert, 2 letters, 2 words. Outside of those we don't know are returning, what would constitute the top 5 list of most impactful returners for the 2022?
Top 5 list. That's what we do, Trace.
You've got one? Because I was going to punt this question until we started. Oh, he's come prepared. You would have been really upset with me if I ended the show at an hour.
Yeah. No, I had all these notes that I didn't get to. Here's my top 5. Here we go.
Was it 3 weeks ago that I just threw up the rundown?
Yeah.
And you're like, there goes all my research.
That's your con. All right, so here's my top 5. Number 5. There's a tie at number 5. I apologize. That's 6.
You cheat on this, by the way. You had 6 in your. By the way, I think you had a glaring omission. Can I critique your top 6 list? There's no way the passing of Otis Anderson does not deserve to be on that list. I know it's a melancholy story. I know you're trying to be upbeat. Hugely impactful, and the tie-in during the Gasparilla Bowl, 54 yards. That's very impactful. I know you're trying to be upbeat. I don't like to critique you.
I would sit in the penalty box for 2 minutes, but then you talk to yourself. That wouldn't be a good show. Here's my top 5. Ready? Tie for number 6. JJB, Jeremiah Jean-Baptiste, particularly if the linebacker is going to be an issue. And then Johnny Richardson. I think he brings a change of pace. That's my number 5. Number 4, Mikey Keene. He may be our QB1 next year. We don't really know. So we need to figure that out. Number 3, Justin Hodges. He played a really good second half of the season when he came into that role that was previously Bryson Armstrong's. He stepped, he played really well. I think that's important. Number 2, Devontae Brown. We don't talk about this guy enough. because he didn't have to do anything because no one threw his way. And when they did, I think he was one of the lockdown corners. He had 3 PBUs against Florida. I think he's absolutely underrated. I think he had a fantastic year. It's tough to judge a cornerback because if you don't get the ball thrown to you, you don't know if you're good. We never really even had to call his name, which probably means something. And number 1, Ryan O'Keefe, most important guy coming back.
Yeah. I'm going to punt until we start doing position breakdowns.
It's a family trait, Robert. It's a family trait.
At Dan R. Cundiff, is there a player that you would expect to be done playing that decides to come back for one more year? I have no information at all. I just wonder if Sam Jackson comes back for another year. Maybe he wants to put together a more impressive body of work in his tape as he pursues a pro career down the line. I just wonder maybe he's somebody that comes back.
Yeah, I would co-sign that. I think if you're going to read the tea leaves and you're going to do conspiracy theories, you've seen a lot of the other seniors with goodbye posts, announcements to the bowls they're going to be playing in. Cole Schneider in the Hula Bowl, Big Cats in a couple of bowls. Haven't seen anything from Sam yet. So I'm going to play the conspiracies. He's been quiet, which maybe quiet means he's thinking something else.
Sam's mom watches the show. How about he hop on the Sons of UCF Live for a little exclusive? I'll shoot you a message later. About that. At Knights HSV, with the move to the Big 12 coming soon, a need for more quality talent and depth, how many of the portal entries do you think were encouraged to look for an opportunity elsewhere by the coaching staff? I think if it is, and we've only heard that this is a genuine group of coaches, right? You haven't heard anybody bad-mouthing anybody on the way out, right? I think everybody, just as you would in your job, get a performance review. Coaches are sitting with these guys. They're talking about that. Here's where you look in the grand scheme of things. Here's what we think you can do. Gus got a lot of these guys that, they were part of another signing class. So yeah. I think they're having honest conversations. And if I'm not going to name any one of these guys, but if they don't think they fit into the future of what they want to do, maybe that conversation, that's just a fair and honest conversation. You don't fit into our future plan, so you might want to consider this. And maybe a kid says, Coach, how do I work into your plan? I'm not sure you do. I mean, if everybody's adults and everybody's being honest and there's a transfer portal where these kids can shine somewhere else, coaches would do them a favor.
Well, plus, I think there's 4 secondary players in the portal, and obviously you saw UCF sign, 3 really good prospects in the secondary, right from here in Orlando. So I think there's also maybe some tea leaves that these guys can probably read and say, okay, if these guys are coming in and I was a fringe player now, what's that going to mean for me? And so I think a lot of these guys are saying, hey, I need to go find opportunities elsewhere. I don't know that Gus or anybody has to sit them down and tell them that. I think sometimes the tea leaves are there, can be read. To your point, Trace, though, I hope they find landing spots. I mean, there's just so much movement.
27%. 27% of kids that have entered the portal have landed with a new club.
I just hope they find landing spots somewhere because obviously we root for these guys. We want them all to be the best, but competition stuff out there.
Is Robert suggesting we rename the Suns mailbag?
He's asking us to get another show. I think Wednesday night is Ask Soul. Oh. And Thursday night we do our regular show.
Oh.
Mike's going to be so confused when he gets back. Oh, my goodness.
Well, that's an interesting question in the offseason. Yeah, well, we'll consider that. I think he's angling for the transfer portal audition for the Mike spot.
Robert, only if you send in a Brian W. Peterson style walk and talk for next
week.
He's
got walk and talk experience, in Dallas at the SMU game.
But to be fair, that's like jumping out of the parachute strapped to somebody. Like, I need to see him jump out of the plane on his own here.
Robert, you have a challenge there. At Knights HSV, are you expecting any news update in the next few months regarding the Big 12? I hope so. The 3A schools have to formally let the conference know a certain date of planning on joining in 23. Obviously, 22 is out the window. 23 is what people are talking about. Worst case, obviously, is 24. One benefit, though, if the SEC holds the line on this, the Big 12 with the Oklahoma and Texas transfers, you could end up maybe in the same year. That's what I'd like. I'd like to see Texas and Oklahoma overlap, just as it was, where you had Rutgers and Louisville and all of that in 2013.
A couple things to note. Per the AAC contract, schools are required to give them 27 months notice and pay a $10 million buyout.
They've given the notice, the 27 months notice.
So that clock's already started, at least.
That buyout goes down, though, as time ticks.
So that could be the factor here is the negotiation. For context, UConn really only gave them 12 months notice, but their buyout went up. So what this question really means to me is how good are our lawyers? Because I think that's where this is heading at some point.
How much money do we have?
Law firm, JP Gilbert, Jay Hadaway, somebody get together here. Let's get a law firm together and let's get out of this contract already.
get JP on the show to break down that contract. A little freedom of information request. At Lonely Bee, did we see Lonely Bee's comment earlier that he's gonna send all of his suits to Jordan's dad for tailoring?
This was my other favorite. But yes, he's also going to send all of his suits.
But you know what, that comment right there, by the way, about the socks, the NIL, you can see when you make a connection like that with. And we've had some of the recruits on, some of the new signees. That's how you can sell merchandise, just by being genuine. You root for these kids. But Lonely Bee, UCF asks, has Trace returned all the Christmas gifts he stole, I put that in quotes, from kids to use as props? Yes, that was returned. Dylan Gabriel's shoe and all the butterfly paraphernalia was returned to 12-year-old Ed. I think as I hopped on an airplane she returned to dad. So I did not run off with Dylan Gabriel's shoe. And at HARDOSIAN,
we have to believe
what are you
it,
and the
yes,
Suns? No, I don't have those shoes. What are you and the Suns New Year's resolutions? Are you a New Year's resolutions kind of guy?
No. However, what I try to do every year is challenge myself to learn something new, learn a skill rather. So that's why I don't do a resolution per se. I try to figure out something that I want to do better. So that's more of what I usually focus on.
Well, it worked this year. You were a better podcast host.
That's debatable. I've heard some. That's debatable, really. Yeah. My injury plagued 2021 year.
Yeah, looking back on it now, it fits the whole. Gus was injured. Everybody else was injured. You were injured.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was.
I may have started it actually. Yeah.
No Mike tonight. Reasons unclear. Next week we'll be getting questions about was Mike and Jay Flash heading to UCLA. Is he going to be doing the Sons of UCLA next week with a special guest, Dylan Gabriel?
I just saw a Dungeon post that said UCF Mike dudes on the mall collision course. So I don't know what's happening there. There could be smoke.
Dudes on the mall. That's an obscure. That's an obscure reference. Little shout out, by the way. Speaking of shows that cover UCF, I want to wish congratulations to former UCF quarterback Kyle Israel, who announced on his social media this Wednesday that he is relocating to Germany. And pursuing a new career, new business ventures for many years as part of UCF Podcasting Talk. Fortunate to have had conversations with Kyle, breaking down Knights games, and have enjoyed that friendship with him over the years and wish him nothing but the best. Once a night, always a night, here in Greater Orlando or in Germany.
Yeah, Kyle's a good dude. I mean, we had a chance to interact with him a few different times. Somebody who's always accessible to talk UCF. Always knowledgeable about UCF, continue to root and support the program. Obviously going on to some new challenges in life, which is, I guess, part of growth at some point. So hopefully he finds himself across this side of the pond again soon. And maybe, I don't know what the time difference is where he's at, but maybe we can get him, get him on the show at some point. Or as Robert points out, secret operative for Josh Heupel recruiting.
Yeah, we do. We still have, the German recruits have not hit the portal.
No, one's actually gone. No, Rule Belt's the only one left. The other guy's gone. I forgot him. We hardly knew you. Rule Belt, though, he's still around. He was on the field goal block team, which I think is a genius idea, but he didn't actually block.
Dude's big.
6'10", yeah.
Yeah, dude's big.
We have a game against Michigan tomorrow if he's available.
Yeah. So, again, that's why we joined you on this special Wednesday night edition of the Sons of UCF Live. I want to thank Jordan McDonald for hopping on. Great getting to know him. He'll be here in a little while, about 2 weeks or so.
In like 2044, so get to know him then too.
Yeah, and go Knights against Michigan. Big one for the season ahead in conference play, and March Madness just around the corner. So big one for the Knights. Going to be a packed house, going to be a great atmosphere. So UCF Mike, we miss you. We will see you next year, and we will see all of you next year. For Adam, I'm Trace. This is the Sons of UCF Live. Go Knights, and Happy New Year, everyone.
Yeah, be safe, everybody. Take care of each other. Charge on.